Testing, 1, 2, testing, and what's going on, guys? Samuel World from Samuel World Production here, back with another ranking video today. This is probably going to be the biggest ranking video I have ever done on this channel. Like a huge video. Actually, the last couple years I never really done any celebration for my anniversary on YouTube, which is October 4th. So I figured, why not do another one today, actually. As for today's video, I'm going to do the biggest ranking video I've ever done. Well, I'm going to take every Survivor season I watched, every Big Brother season I watched, and every Hell's Kitchen season I've watched, and put them all together and to rank them into one huge ranking video. Yes, it's going to be quite a fun and interesting video, honestly. And so now I'm ranking 131 seasons. 71 Survivor seasons is also including international seasons. The 39 Big Brother seasons, including the US, the 3 Celebrity Brother seasons, the 1 digital one, and the Canada seasons. That's Eats. And the 21 Hell's Kitchen seasons. Now, I guess I'm filming this for about 25 is killing airing, and of course, after listening to this video, we're going to get like a new season of Survivor and Hell's Kitchen, and like, why don't you just wait for those? Because again, it's my anniversary, and a lot of these are always going to be out anyway, so. And that's what I'm going to do for you guys today. So, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to break every season of Survivor, every season of Big Brother, and Hell's Kitchen to one gigantic ranking video. And ranking them all from worst to best. This is going to make really fun, especially if somebody, I think I did do like a ranking season of all these seasons, and this might be definitely changed a little bit, honestly, so this is still going to make for a fun video, but I do hope you'll enjoy. I will let you know how you guys rank all the seasons down below. So, no being the bush, we got a long video to get to, so let's get started, shall we? Also, side note, actually, I'm actually going to make this into a 7-part video, which I was planning on doing. I was going to make like a huge video, but then I remembered I might have so much to say about all these seasons, so I think doing it in like a 7-part video makes sense, honestly. Because I know I'll probably have so much to talk about with what goes on in these seasons, because obviously there will be spoilers, obviously, because I can't talk about some of these seasons without getting into spoilers. And I'll probably have so much to say about all of them. Of that, yeah, I think it's best to just make this to like a multi-part video, where this part will be talking about 131 and 121, part 2 talk about 120 to 101, part 3 would do 100 to 81, part 4 would be 80 to 61, part 5 would be 60 to 41, part 6 would be 40 to 21, and then 7 will be the top 20. So, I hope you enjoyed still, honestly. I figured I'd let you guys know. I decided to make this kind of last second, but I still hope you enjoy. So, these parts will be released throughout October, so hope you guys enjoy. So, now let's get to the ranking. And now, we talk about. Now we talk about the bottom tier seasons here, where we talk about the seasons that I just think are the worst of all these seasons. And now, for me personally, well, I think if I would take every season of Survivor and Big Brother and Hell's Kitchen into one big ranking, which would be the worst out of all of them? Well, in my humble opinion, the absolute worst season on this list is Survivor UK Season 2. Yes, this Survivor UK Season 2 Panama is the worst Survivor season and the worst season out of any of these seasons. Probably being the worst reality TV season I've ever seen, honestly. There might have been some seasons that I'll get into that probably done aspects that infuriate me more. I don't think there's really much anything that really infuriates me about this season. It's just about that it's so boring. And it's like the only season on this list. The only season. I really can't find any positive to say about it. Like, no joke. I can't find anything that's a slim of a positive to say about the season. I really can't. None of the cast members are interesting. They don't really play anything interesting. Some of them just give up. Some of them just like they have the swords and just don't do anything interesting. Don't get any like similar gameplay. Don't anything like production challenges. Like no like engaging moments. No more like oh my god moments. Like that. Like it doesn't do stuff that really infuriate me. Like a the future season we'll talk about later on. But again, the fact that I really can't find any positive to say about season, I think it's the one thing that really pushed this season at the very bottom. Because again, in spite of the seasons I view, man, at least I can find some positives to say about them. At least I can find like a glimmer of a good moment, or some good moments, or a couple of good cast members. Here, the cast is just boring. But you get just boring votes in the last few months where they're pretty obvious, and you get like a 4-4 split, and it pretty much probably where one side just kind of gives up and see what happens. Even then, it's pretty obvious who's gonna make it at the end. There's like no surprises, no engaging gameplay, no excitement at all. No excitement at all. No. No. And none of that is what puts Survivor UK Season 2 playing off for me at the very bottom. I can imagine I'm looking forward to the next season of Survivor UK. They were planning to get, I think, at the end of this year, if I remember correctly. So I'm sure there's nothing to improve with the first 2 seasons, and actually being an engaging season, and actually improving a lot of the issues with the season. Like, we'll see how that goes, but yeah, this season, will, in my opinion, is the worst Survivor season and the worst season on this list. And literally the only season I would actually give it like a 0 to, which, again, I can't say about the other seasons because these probably have more aspects that infuriate me. At least there's some positives. Now we start talking about Big Brother. Yes, I actually do positives to say about the worst season of Big Brother, and that, in my opinion, is Big Brother 19. And I definitely debate between this and another season that we get into on the worst, honestly. But yeah, Big Brother 19, I think what puts at the bottom is that it was. That this was the first season ever that actually made me stop watching at one point. And that's never happened to any season of the show. Ever. Even at the absolute worst some seasons that we'll get into. This was the only season where I think at one point I just stopped watching. I just stopped watching what was going on. I was just bored. And how that Paul pretty much did all these like bullying tactics that just didn't go fun. The cast that seemed very interesting at first. Majority of them basically end up being just duds or just terrible people. And it was pretty much just a steamroll, honestly, and it's just boring. Probably just got by the tail gameplay didn't really be true as much as they did, honestly, and it was pretty obvious on some people that are going to go home, like Mark, Elena, Matt, Raven, Jason, Alex, even moments that supposed to be blindsides, they were just whatever, honestly. And Christmas probably be my least favorite house guest of all time, honestly. Honestly, it was just, again, the temptation could have been interesting, but it was going to be kind of boring, and they tried to do pre-order none of any tickets, so they didn't really matter. It was just boring. B-O-R-I-N-G, boring. But again, I can at least find some positives to say about Big Brother 19. Because it does actually have a good first week, actually, I will say. After the first week definitely showed promise. The first week definitely showed some promise. So the problem was with Cody basically just kind of ruining his whole game, and basically though we had people that are not most half the house, someone did walk down the house, honestly. I think of the day one, the victory that we got, this one's probably the most manageable at least. And also Josh, also Kevin, I would say, is also a pretty likable person throughout. Probably the only likable person this season. Josh, by his annoying moments, I would say is not as annoying as I remember him being in some areas. Maybe because I've seen some moments of my own challenge. It was like, I don't think it's actually that bad, honestly, but at least it's not my least favorite one as I'm filming this. And the fact that he actually won with Paul definitely makes the season. The fact that despite everything that Paul did, he still had to learn that, hey, maybe I should admit to what I'm doing wrong. And that proves that it's definitely proof that jury, you can make a dominate great game, but jury management can really, poor jury management can really affect your chances. And that definitely proved that here, and that may actually for a pretty satisfying moment, actually, not gonna lie. But that doesn't do enough to say this season being a slog to get to. So again, it made me stop watching the show at one point, which again, none of the seasons have done honestly at this point. But yeah, it's still a pretty dope season, and hopefully this is the worst they're ever gonna get from Big Brother. Now we move on to more Survivor, and now we get to what I think is the worst US season of Survivor, and that is Survivor Thailand. Which I think is always going to be the worst Survivor season for a lot of people, and truly for good reason. Like, even Jeff Probst himself hates this season. And again, for a good reason. Again, there are positives to say about the season, honestly. It has some couple of good cast members, like Sheehan was a good presence. Obviously, the more I think about it, the more I think of Rob actually is a fun character and has a fun arc throughout the season. That's part of the fun things. There definitely are some a little funny moments scattered throughout the season, but again, the season has a mostly unlikable cast and some people are just pretty forgettable and pretty uninteresting. Has probably the worst winner ever, Brian, who, again, proved that just because you play a dominant game doesn't mean it make for great TV. At least something that can make it fun. Brian's not one of those that he was a terrible person, made some pretty terrible comments, assumed people were this and that, honestly, about certain people and everything, and it almost cost him the game as he pretty much almost lost to probably the biggest go in Clay in entire history, who also has his fun moments, but yeah. The fact that he almost lost was definitely a shock. So there, you know, the season was just pretty boring. Some people said some pretty terrible stuff. The whole Tanagania situation was pretty terrible. Like, yeesh, yeesh. Honestly, the Derp Council was pretty boring. The Brute Order was pretty boring. No really anything blindsides that happened throughout the season. It was just standards and this. Like, Fact Murder was interesting, but they don't do much anything with it. You have some of the most forgettable people at PS5. Like, I'm pretty sure nobody remembers who Aaron is, honestly, and to be honest, for good reason. At least just from this season, honestly. And you just don't get really any like interesting moments or interesting like flips or anything for the season. It's just not really anything interesting in general throughout the season. No interesting challenges, no interesting moments. You got pretty terrible people playing. A season that's just boring. And that's bad. I'm sorry, that's why it's pretty boring. It's pretty lackluster. Has a pretty terrible cast that's just not fun to watch. And so, despite Rob Z being Rob Z in the whole tag zone moment, there's just not much to really remember from this season. I'm pretty sure nobody, and even the moments that people do remember, are moments that people don't want to remember. Like, do you remind you of the Tanagania situation? Yeah, I don't think I need to say anything about that, but yeah. I don't think I need to say what Thailand's the worst, because and in spite of that it has like a lot worse moments than bottom two seasons, and at least the positives do outweigh them a little bit to be at least to where it is in 129, but okay, it's by landslide the worst Survivor Universe season. So there was some debate with my 128 as the worst Survivor Universe season, that is Survivor One World. The saddest part of that season is that the name of the season One World is how I got my stage name Samuel One World. That's how I got the One World from. Which makes it pretty sad considering the season is pretty terrible, honestly. It was actually kind of a tight race between. I know I said last it was kind of landslide, but it was kind of a bit of a tight race between the Thailand. But again, overall, at least the positive I can say about this season is that at least the dominant winner Kim is at least a lot more fun and a lot more satisfying winner. Well, she's not the most interesting character in the world, but at least she's actually satisfying. Of course, she's never having Colton, who is probably the worst person to ever be on Survivor. If I looked up, I'm sure he's definitely gotten better from this situation. That, but yeah, it's something he would say. He tried to act like that cocky villain, but he got that villain supposed to be fun, and his racial stuff towards Bill was pretty unpleasant to watch. And the fact that they decided to actually give up tribal immunity to actually get rid of him, like, what? And there's some players that I forgot how to tell they are in the season as well, like Alicia. I forgot how bad she was character the more I think about it, honestly. I mean, Kat was fine, and Serena and Chelsea and Sabrina were fine as well. I still wouldn't mind seeing Sabrina and Chelsea return because I hope they'd be more memorable, but yeah, I don't remember being the most memorable TV here for this season either. The one aspect, honestly, of two tribes living on one beach, it sounds like a great concept. Except they don't do much with it. They really don't do much with it at all, honestly, in fact. Like, really. I mean, you do get called fun drop council, like the whole Jonas route was actually kind of fun, honestly, with the kind of back and forth that happened between that episode. And Tarzan is also a fun character, he has some great fun moments, and Tarzan, this is my island! This is my island! It's also a pretty fun character as well, for which he doesn't do much game changes this season. But again, this season's kind of a steamroll, guy just being stupid, just being pretty boring throughout, no interesting surprises. Kim just like dominating pressure, which is definitely, again, not proof that dominate doesn't mean fun, honestly. But again, at least Kim though, unlike the last two people like Paul and Brian that we talked about, at least there's a lot more satisfying when At least he was actually likable. But yeah, Spider-Man World, not a good season. A pretty terrible season with pretty terrible moments. At least it's probably a great concept with the one world aspect, and just had a pretty lackluster cast, a pretty lackluster vote outs, just not a lot of interesting stuff going on. It's just not fun, honestly. Again, Kim being actually a more likable winner, and the likability of Troyzan and Tarzan, and the Jones for I do say this about being like worse than Thailand, honestly, but yeah, this is still a pretty terrible season. Oh man, at 127, we have Big Brother 22 All Stars. Like, it generally pains me to have to put the season at the bottom 5. Like, it generally pains me to have to do that. I'm pretty sure that's a lot of people, honestly, because people will claim for an All Stars 2 season for a while. And well, definitely, yes, COVID kind of runs on the plans that some people didn't want to get, because I'm sure if it wasn't for COVID, we probably would have had like Dan Giesling and Derek Lassiter and Paul on the cast, honestly, which would make for an epic season, that's for sure. But I definitely don't. But again, I definitely don't mind the cast here we got in general, honestly. I think it has the potential. I mean, the fact that we had Enzo and Kevin on this cast were people I wouldn't expect to actually make a return, people that I've always wanted to make a return. So make a return was like, oh, yeah, yeah. Of course, Nicole Franz return as well, Cody, and Chris Franz, like, take it or leave it, honestly. And I don't even see like Memphis and Keisha on the same cast was definitely pretty interesting. The alternates, because we were going to get Josh and Casey on the cast. Like, the cast is still pretty solid, even despite the fact that we got like a first bring David on this cast, but I think with him at least it made a little more sense, honestly. And you got freaking Casey and Janelle on the cast. Like, yeah, it's also a pretty solid cast throughout. Unfortunately, this season is definitive proof that you can easily break the game, Big Brother. How easy it is to break the game, honestly, and it makes for the most boring television. And the reason why it's not the worst of Big Brother 22 is that aside from that little autistic comment they made, honestly, there isn't not a lot that truly does veer me. This just comes from disappointment. Because you could get like a huge big battle, but say you feel like some people just didn't want to be like even Tyler, a very hyped player that people were excited to see return. Even for a while, I felt like he didn't really want to be there, which makes his run here pretty disappointing. Even some people I was very excited for end up being disappointing, like Danny ended up being pretty disappointing. I say even Enzo and Kevin Dirk's disappointing, even though I still liked him this season. Cody was a pretty obvious winner from the get-go, honestly, and you can tell from some point that he was going to win. Like, I predicted his win from day freaking 1. No joke. Day freaking 1, I predicted that Cody was going to win. And obviously I was right, because he did end up winning the season. Which that was very satisfying considering, his time on. And what happened to him in 16, but that still is the most interesting TV in the world. And the fact that season also didn't make like Nicole Franzel was also a big sin, honestly, because I love Nicole Franzel, but the fact that season may not like her. Yeah. And her blindside with Cody is actually the only like engaging, like shocking moment this season. I said there's really not anything else interesting going on for the season. It's just pretty much a big scene run with no flares, where the only 2 times where he was used. Like, the only like fun time was actually Dave Vaughn actually winning the veto, and this is also probably her best time on the strip, by the way. And, well, Survivor is honestly a favorite player for me, honestly, and honestly, her winning America's Favorite Player was an incredibly satisfying moment. Honestly, and I'm sure she's probably more better for board like Josh and Casey on the cast, who were growing like big clips on the cast, but again, this is almost during COVID, so maybe that affects these a little bit. But at the same time, it's like, again, we were clever this season for so long, and this is easily, without question, the most disappointing season on this list, and probably the most disappointing season around television in general. Like, and I'm pretty sure nobody would disagree on that, because, yeah, it is pretty disappointing. Now at 126, I know there's some seasons on this list now, probably took me a lot to talk about. But there definitely some seasons here that I was like, what can I really say about them? And at number 26 is Survivor New Zealand Season 1. And this was a pretty bad, boring season to run, honestly. None of the cast members are pretty interesting. The episode starts to make things pretty focused and really edited at times, and like, you do have some fun moments in this cast, but then maybe the one is actually pretty interesting and fun. But again, there's not much I can really say about this season. Sorry. Now at 125, we're back to more Survivor, and that, I mean, of course, about Lava Survivors, there are like 71 seasons on this list. But now we get to know you, where season 9 is South Pacific. Easily, in my opinion, the worst season of the Dark Era. Now, I think there's definitely some people along once you get into that, people that think they appreciate some aspects of this season. But, yeah. Yeah, I don't like South Pacific. I never liked it when I first watched it, and I still don't, honestly. Okay, the definitely other positives, and Coach easily makes it pretty fun this season. He does have his fun moments. Sophie is not as bad as the one as I remember her being. And you do get some pretty solid characters throughout. But again, mostly steamroll. I think they're trying to handle here, but that's still most interesting in the world, honestly. Honestly, just pretty much dominate the challenges. It's definitely pretty fun, honestly, but the fact they did win definitely was pretty disappointing, honestly. You got Brittany Hands here, who was a pretty terrible character in this season. Of course, the whole stuff they did about religion here is just like obviously I have no problem with religion, honestly, but they try to hammer it down so much in you throughout this season. And that was kind of some burnouts in this season. Like, it doesn't make for the most fun TV, that's for sure. And also, this Conqueror is a fun character as well, and I don't know, and it does have some. You do get some cool fun burnouts, especially with that Bound Trunk also Conqueror ends up flipping on the stride, honestly. But Trunk Kills is just mostly what you expect, honestly. I also think that Christine and Stacey are actually fun characters, and they do have some pretty fun and meaningful moments. Like, there is some fun behind here on this list, which is obviously a little high on this list, but it's still a mostly boring season with a mostly boring cast, honestly, and people that make pretty fun don't really get a lot of screen time. I'm pretty sure nobody here remembers like Whitney or Riker, honestly. And the most interesting is that Coach actually lost when he was actually pretty dominant throughout the season, but so recognized that he wouldn't like take full for what he did, and that's what happened. But again, South Pacific. Again, out of the Dark Era between 21 and 26, it's easily the worst. And now we'll get to the most forgettable season on this list, actually, and number 124, and that is Big Brother 1. Big Brother 1, the season of Big Brother started and nobody even talks about it, and for good reason. Yeah, there's not much Survivor 1, so yeah. But anyways, at number 23, we have Survivor Nicaragua, season 21. Again, season 9, I know, has kind of like a huge bit of resurgence. A little bit, the people think actually it's a pretty underrated season. And unfortunately, I'm not one of those people. Again, I definitely do like a bit more, honestly, I to think about it, but it's still a pretty bad season, in my opinion. It's still a pretty lackluster Survivor season. Like, it does have some good cast members, honestly, like Brenda and Mario. They got pretty fun characters. You get a couple of fun, pretty good characters here as well. Fabio's also a pretty satisfying winner. Teresa, Satch, and Jane have their moments. And Brenda was also a good character. You do get some fun moments here and there, but again, this is like one of those seasons that honestly doesn't really have a true defining moment. And of course, the biggest defining moments about, we get that with Kelly and Ianca quit, which is not a good moment for all the wrong reasons. Like, that moment was just pretty, what? Like, running out just 11 days in, like, okay, it's rough, but, and the way it's portrayed was like, damn. And of course, they got Dominant of Power, which is probably the worst twist ever on the show, at least until what was getting to in a bit. Which was so bad they got rid of Windows 5 swap. And for good reason. You know, because some pretty tough appeal, like Shannon's also a pretty not fun character as well. You get an hilarious first period of Wendy, honestly. Jimmy T and Jim Johnson are the most fun characters, in my opinion. You just get some pretty forgettable characters in general here as well. Doesn't make it for any much interesting running out, so I find the season throughout. It's a season that just doesn't really have much like true defined moments or. I definitely don't hate this season as much as I used to, honestly. Honestly, if I made this list like a while back, it probably would be around like One World of Thailand, honestly. But probably be like a few of the most higher, actually. It's now had much because it's still a pretty lackluster season. Now we're talking about 2 seasons that I remember I used to really like when they first airing, but have dropped a lot in depth and quality since I first watched. And coming number 122 is Survivor Caramel and Fans vs. Favorites. A season I think I remember being pretty high when I first watched it, so I had some moments, but the more I thought about it, the more like, yeah, Caramel's pretty bad, honestly. It also got moments here, again, Coffin going from how he was weak to end up winning this season is a pretty great story to watch. Honestly, again, some fans are pretty funny. Annie World and Malcolm are fantastic here as well. Philip is less annoying here, honestly. Again, Corinne here, but as much as you expect. Again, Sherry definitely had a good pre-joy story that was kind of wasted in the merge episode, which it doesn't really do much. Again, this season probably hasn't been the worst pre-merge in the show's history, by just being so boring and uninteresting, and fans not really being fans, and the favorites not really being favorites. I mean, like a first boot being another first boot, and just predictable vote outs, like, then you also got that whole Brandon situation, which is like, yeah, that's true. He probably shouldn't have been a returning player, honestly. Like, yeah, I don't think you mentioned it, but that moment was just uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. And BOING. And Transform things didn't get much better either, unfortunately. And you do get a fun Grand Blindside and an epic Philip Blindside, and even a solid Malcolm one, and even a pretty emotional Brenda moment. But other than that, it's not really, and that, to be honest, it's pretty much mostly the same, honestly. Conference probably one of the more predictable winners of the show. Honestly, why I don't have a problem with predictability. There's a case where it does make fun of message on TV at times, and it's kind of long in some areas, and you don't get much surprises. You also get a dramatic effect of Final Five that kind of ruins some aspects too, so you got a pretty bad season, honestly. It does have some good highs, honestly, but some equally bad lows that do leave it where it is at 122. And now we get to this round season at 121 that's had the hugest, biggest different quality since my last video, since I first saw it. Yeah, I'm being super high on this season, honestly. You know, you do like episode reviews on this season, and you can probably tell a lot of areas I was like pretty high on the pre-merge. Like, even some episodes of the post-merge I remember really being high on, but this is proof that just you can have like a great and amazing meal, but one signature ingredient, one signature moment can make it pretty terrible and pretty bad, honestly. And if you haven't guessed already, it's Survivor Island the Idols. Vision, if I have nobody with this being what it is, honestly. Like I said, I was like all on a 9 when the season came out, when I first finished it, even after I finished watching it, despite the whole situation, but yeah, the more I thought about it, the more like, which again, it's pretty unfortunate because, yeah, I still think pretty much it's pretty good. I still think it has a pretty good pre-merge. You got some pretty good PJ characters, especially with Jason. You get some pretty nice moments. You get some pretty good back and forth between all the players, honestly, throughout. And of course, you got the whole Alan aspect with Rob and Sandra, which I thought that was fantastic, honestly, and they were great visits, and the visits themselves were great and awesome. Seeing Rob and Sandra trying to teach the line of players like how to play the game, that was a pretty great aspect. And seeing them the kind of little banter during Tribal Council and then watching Tribal was like in the reactions from it was like pretty awesome to watch. Was pretty awesome and fun to watch. So I still think pretty much is pretty good. But again, we get to the actual merge. And the merge episode, which I think is honestly the worst episode in our history. And the worst moment in our history that single-handedly ruined what could have been a great season. And that's of course the Dan Spiel situation. Now, I'm not going to get too much in detail with that situation. I did that for his own video if I end up doing my top 10 worst moments list I did a while back. But long story short, Dan Spiel was very touchy. Some people didn't like it, especially one person named Kelly. She basically disappointed a lot of people, even the producers. Producers didn't do much about it. 2 people used that aspect to basically say that he touched them, but he really didn't. Then they used that information to make her a big target. They basically used like real life stuff to make her a big target, which led her to get voted out. In a moment in which she had 2 idols in her pocket, it could have been like a big epic moment. It could have been epic. But within the whole situation, you're just feeling just achy. If I had to go and make it the lovely Janet, I feel like she was the bad guy in the situation. And all you do is trying to be a helpful person. I'm still disgusted by that. The second half doesn't be able with Jamal just finds an advantage. And because you feel like you can't be curious about finding advantages, saying it's too good to be true, he ends up losing his votes. And he ends up getting voted on his episode. And Dave Beals in the competition, he still gets screen time, and he ends up getting ejected randomly before the finale. Like what? What? And even the Trump councils didn't really have much either. We don't get much any interesting vote outs, much interesting back and forth, just not really anything interesting in general. The finale does save it a little bit, honestly. And while actually Tom's not the most compelling win in the world, if it wasn't Jay and Lauren, I'm fine with them, honestly. And there are also some fun characters around. Again, Nick Nora's a top tier character, Dean has his moments, Janet's a fantastic character and a fantastic Cuban in general. Lauren also has their moments as well. Elaine and Karishma do have their moments. Like, some players do have their moments. And you get some pretty cool moments, but yeah, this kids with the whole situation is just splattered throughout the season to the point where even the pretty much lost its luster a little bit. Again, like I said, some like, good characters and some moments. Probably the only reason why anyone else isn't lower on this list, honestly. But yeah, it's not about a season that has, again, this is a season I think has the biggest dip in quality. That's my first watch. That's my first watch, which makes it pretty disappointing.